All right, yo, let's get it popping. Let's get it popping. Let's do it, y'all. Monday, day after. Jets and Giants both lose. So we in the house. Hit us up at Ty D Butlers, where you can find me on Instagram, on X. Make sure you follow the YouTube page as well. Getting it popping, man. Busy weekend for your boy. I was on TV SNY. Had the radio show yesterday on ESPN in New York. And now we're talking to you guys on the stream. So hit the comments up. I want to hear from y'all. Make it a two-way conversation. I don't want to just be talking. I want to hear from the people. What y'all got to say about what we watched this past week? And my question that I just posed, as you can see, is who had the worst weekend? Was it the New York Jets or the New York Giants? So hit us up in the comments. Tag the show. Tag your peoples on X, Instagram, YouTube. You know the vibes. So the Jets and Giants both losing yesterday, which that part isn't shocking at all. I thought the Jets would have a little bit more success offensively. Knew it would be a low-scoring game, but I didn't think they'd score 6 points. Like, that part to me was shocking. The Giants losing, again, not surprised at all. It was going to be a tough task. You're going to Denver. That's a team that considers itself to be a Super Bowl contender with an elite defense. The shocking part for me was the Giants scoring 32 on that defense. That's what I was mind blown. I was watching this game with a couple of friends, and there were a ton of moments where I just looked to my right and I was just like, wow, like this kid is special, man. Jackson Dart. Because, a lot of people were ready to arrive at whatever the conclusion they had on him after what we saw in the preseason. And, it's premature. He's going up against backups, some players that aren't going to be making teams. But you got to give him credit. That preseason success is certainly translated, and it sparked this Giants team that was 37 seconds away, y'all. 37 seconds away from being a playoff contender, which is why they lost the weekend. They absolutely lost this weekend. The Giants, with a win against Denver, the conversation today is about them being in the playoff hunt, even at 3-4. Because, we could do the college football style quality of wins. Now, and it hurts, right? Losing that Saints game, brutal. But the quality of wins would have been the Chargers, the Eagles, and now the Broncos. And you weren't just going to win that game. You were blowing them out. Denver just did not look like it belonged on the same field as the Giants. So for those reasons, the Giants had more at stake than the Jets. The Jets are dead. They're lifeless. The Giants at least had a pulse. And with a win, you're 3-4, staring at a rematch against an Eagles team that you blasted a couple weeks ago. Your defense is shutting down the Broncos. Not that Broncos offense is elite, but still very impressive. And then Jackson Dart doing Jackson Dart things, and it was going to be perfectly set up for him and the Giants to have the last laugh, because we heard, Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, all the cats in the Denver locker room chirping, doing a lot of chirping. And Jackson Dart is just throwing a party on that defense. So it was set up perfectly for them to have the last laugh and then, take some shots during their victorious press conference. But they blew it. And the problem is, because of what was at stake, because of how it unfolded, where it was like bad coaching and also the strength of this team was supposed to be defense. That's all I heard during this past training camp. Oh, this defense. Kayvon Thibodeau, and I'll bring this up. Shout out Boy Green. I found this tweet moving around because Jets and Giants, Snoopy Bowl, we know they get after it during the preseason, right? So Kayvon had this to say, and I'll put it on the screen here for y'all. Give me a moment, bringing it up. So Kayvon Thibodeau, after the game against the Jets during the preseason, said, "Man, it's tough for quarterbacks right now, especially in practice." He was under a little bit of pressure. He's talking about Justin Fields. So I can't really give you a full analysis on what I think of him as a quarterback because he did have to run and scramble. Yeah, you guys have to probably look at it. Take a look at that on your own. So all this chirping that you were doing during the preseason, we expected you to be a lot better on that side of the ball. And now what we are forced to analyze, forced to break down is 2 times the Giants offense has given their team a chance to win by leaving the field with a lead. They did it against the Cowboys in week 2, which feels like, ages ago, considering it was Russell Wilson doing his thing, 37 points on that Cowboys defense. They left the field with a lead. And what was that? 25 seconds left in the game? Dak gets him in field goal range. Brandon Aubrey sends it to overtime. So that's one L. That's one game you should have won. If this defense that was supposed to be extraordinary had simply lived up to the hype, if this Giant defense I heard about during the preseason, during training camp, had simply lived up to the hype, then that's 2 more wins for them. They're 4-3 instead of 2-5 because week 2, that's got to be a victory. When your offense scores 37 points, you got to win that game. And then yesterday, when Jackson Dart, as a rookie quarterback, making his 4th career NFL start, goes into Denver against what might be the best defense in the league and puts up 32 points, you got to win that game, man. You got to win that game. Think about how different the conversation is about the Giants if they take care of business. We're talking about the playoffs. We're actually raving about Brian Dable and his offensive wizardry because this young quarterback who they traded up to get showed some flashes during the preseason and actually comes into a highly pressurized situation. Week 4 against the Chargers, and the Chargers were 3-0 at the time. And they had and still have an incredible defense yesterday notwithstanding. Trying to save this coach's job. This dude came in with mad pressure, y'all. And he's delivered. But yesterday, and yes, he had a turnover that was massive. But despite that turnover, should have still been enough to win the game because he ends up making up for it. Now, the officials, were gifting the Giants left and right on the final offensive possession for Jackson Dart. The roughing the passer call, the DPI, those were just nonsense. Man, if I'm going to listen to y'all do all this chirping during the preseason about how elite this defense is, you lost 2 games this year where your offense scored 37 and 32 points respectively. That can't happen, man. Kayvon, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter. I mean, all of y'all culpable in this. Your man's Deontay Banks was out here getting shredded. So, biggest takeaways: one, head coach got to go. This is becoming abundantly clear. He's not cut out to be a head coach. Great offensive coordinator, not a head coach. Situationally, game management. I also don't love his theatrics. Like emotionally, it's just too much, man. He's screaming at the medical doctor last game and that Eagles Thursday night football game. He's going off on Bowen yesterday. Chill out, bro. Like, you doing too much. Number two takeaway is the Giants were within striking distance, 37 seconds away from being a playoff contender. That now to me is all but over. Third takeaway, and this should be the biggest takeaway, but it's hard to do on a solemn Monday morning when you blow a game like that. Third biggest takeaway is, you got a quarterback. You have a quarterback. Jackson Dart, he is a legitimate stud. I'm blown away by how composed that kid is. I mean, you look at the footwork, the mobility, just the sense of the pressure coming and how he was just unfazed, man. He's taking hits, gets right back up, firing away, extending plays. I just could not have been more impressed with Jackson Dart. Again, big time turnover that flips the game, because now the Broncos, who were dead, are in scoring territory. They're in the red zone immediately. They score the touchdown, so that flips the game. But he's just incredible. He's incredible, and he will reap the harvest of his hard work and talent, but also be the beneficiary of whoever the Giants decide to hire next year to be their head coach, because Brian Dable simply cannot do it. Meanwhile, you got the Jets on the other hand. Hit us up in the chat and on Instagram and Twitter. Ty D Butler. Follow the YouTube page as well. The Jets, there's not a lot more to say. So I'm angrily tweeting during the game, and people, it's amazing how just like the smallest things that, I don't know, feel pretty obvious, just annoy certain segments of the population, of the Jet fan population. So I pointed out yesterday the Jet strategy of building a culture that immediately began with getting rid of their best players was odd. Devontae Adams yesterday morning, 3 touchdowns in London. Aaron Rodgers has played very well. We saw him Thursday night in a loss. Was I thought fantastic against the Bengals, albeit a bad defense. But I mean, listen, they're a winning team right now, and he's played pretty well. The Aaron Glenn tenure as the head coach of the New York Jets started with him and Muji deciding it was in their best interest to get rid of their 2 best players. I don't think that's a controversial. Like, me acknowledging that might not have aged well is not controversial. And people hopped in the comments and they want to come after me. It's all good, man. What I know is 0-7, the only winless team in the NFL. They've scored in their check this out. In their last 6 games, they've scored 1 touchdown in the first half. Just 1. They've scored 6 in garbage time. So just think about that. Think about that for a moment. You go back the last 6 games for an NFL football team to score 1 first half touchdown. Like, that borders on a level of like ineptitude that even the Jet fan is just astonished by, because like, how could you be that bad? How could your team score touchdowns by accident in this league? Yo, the touchdown that the Giants scored on that final drive, aided by roughing the passer and a DPI. Like that happens all the time. And somehow the Jets, it's like a Rubik's Cube. Like they're trying to split the atom when it comes to just putting points on the board. It's mind-boggling to me. To be that bad is crazy, y'all. To be that bad is crazy. And I can't put myself in the same room with folks who are like, throw your hands up, you know, lose the rest of the games. I've seen enough because I just don't think that passes like the make sense test. It's counterproductive. You go 0-17. Yes, you reap the harvest of getting the number one overall pick, which is incredible. The problem with that is going 0-17 on the surface is embarrassing and pathetic. Doing so in a season where Vegas had the Jets over under at 5.5. So they were going to be somewhere between a 5 or 6 win team. The offseason included them giving $30 million guaranteed to a quarterback who don't let these fools try to confuse you. They thought that they could win games with this quarterback. You don't give $30 million guaranteed to a quarterback you're trying to tank, lose, or bottom out with. They thought that they could win a few games with this guy. You get to 0-17, that becomes an indictment of the entire operation. There is not a single person who, during the offseason, in the lead up to week one, thought this Jet roster is like horrendous. It's one of the worst I've ever seen. Nobody thought that. You thought, yo, this is a talented team. I don't know what I'm getting at quarterback. The wide receiver room is disastrous, but love the running backs, Garrett Wilson, Mason Taylor, the tight end. The defense should take a step up. You didn't think that they were a winless team. You didn't think that they were one of the worst teams in football. They literally are the worst team in football. So you get to 0-17. I think it highlights so many issues that we didn't think that we had coming into the season. And it serves, again, as an indictment of the entire operation. So 0-17, you get the number one overall pick. You take Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. Cool. You trust these guys making that selection? I'm watching a head coach who can't even figure out clock management. And I've got like friends I watch these games. I watch games with. And they know like one of the things that bothers me the most, like one of my biggest pet peeves is poor clock management. It it just boggles my mind how Aaron Glenn last week against the Broncos botched the end of the first half. And to his credit, admitted probably should have attempted a Hail Mary. Get some, do something that gives you an opportunity to score points. Do something. And he acknowledged as much this week. He said, probably should have attempted a Hail Mary. I was like, all right, that's cool. Like, we're making some progress. Then I watched him yesterday. Similar situation at the end of the first half. Let the clock run out. And back to back with it's amazing how you had a monumental mistake happen. You admitted that you made a mistake. You then, in the very next week, are put in the same position, end of half, to not correct the mistake, but to at least acknowledge you've learned from your mistake. Just like you told us during the week that you did. And somehow, when gifted an opportunity to do that, you make the same exact mistake. It's comical because if you don't laugh and you're a Jet fan, you're just gonna end up doing some harmful things to yourself. You know what's amazing? I got people in my mentions like upset with me. The the audacity of you, Ty, to want your team to have a better than 0-7 record. Yo, there was somebody who hit me up on X and was like, because I brought up like the fact that that this regime started its tenure by deciding, hey, we're just gonna get rid of our two best players and Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Like the fact that that happened was a bold strategy. Like as you're trying to set a standard and improve the culture, which culture is created by winning, you decided, you know what, two best players, get them out of here. So I just simply pointed that out. And I had a bunch of folks coming at me in my mentions, which is cool. But it's comedy how like some dude was like, yeah, would have just been another 8-9 season. As if you can be a Jet fan and just sneeze at 8 wins. Yo, the last time the Jets won 8 or more games was 2015. 2015 was the last time. That's a decade ago. And you are in my mentions pretending like winning 8 games you're too good for as a Jet fan. Kick rocks. That's crazy to me. Now, of course, 8-9, it's like one of the worst case scenarios because you're not good enough to make the playoffs, but you're also not bad enough to pick high in the draft. I just want to see my team win a football game. 0-7 is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And I'm the type of fan who feels like when the next time I go outside, I gotta wear a bag over my head because it's so pathetic the team that I root for. And I just can't sit here and allow dummies to impose their will in my mentions with stupidity. Like we can talk. I'm cool with that. We can have conversations. But when you're screaming at me and you sound dumb doing it, like at some point you got to look in the mirror and be like, "Yo, that was wild. Why did I just say that?" But you got fools who have tricked themselves into believing winning more than you are now is somehow bad. all all of that for a few extra wins. Yeah, it would be nice to not be the laughing stock of the league for a head coach who is getting in his own way at every turn. You don't think for a brand new head coach, winning football games is important to establish some type of like credibility? Like these people out here are bugging out. That's the wild part. That's wild, man. That is wild. Which New York football team had the worst weekend? It is, without question, the New York Giants. 37 seconds away from a legitimate conversation about you being a playoff contender. I mean, you get wins over the Chargers, the Eagles, and then the Broncos in Denver. There's nothing else we can say about how tough the schedule is because the schedule isn't too tough that you can't win games. And you've got a quarterback who's just like playing out of his mind right now. So the difference between that and you're 2-5, we're going to fire the head coach. The defensive coordinator stinks. Your defense now has blown 2 games where the offense have scored 37 points and 32 points respectively. A defense that coming into the season I heard was supposed to be elite. That's what I heard. I heard the chirping from Kayvon. Everyone talking about it's going to be an elite defense. Now, I give them credit. Shut down Herbert. They made Jalen Hurts look pretty pedestrian. Patrick Mahomes, who has just been on a heater the last month, didn't have his best game against the Giants in week 3. But yo, 2 games. You got a lead. Your offense leaves the field with a lead. 25 seconds left to go in the Dallas game. 37 seconds left to go in the Broncos game. You've now put up 37 points and 32 points respectively. And you can't close the deal. 2 L's. That's the difference between the Giants being interesting from the point of, oh, they could actually make the playoffs, between that and now they're just interesting because they have a really good quarterback who now has to overcome bad coaching and a suspect defense that you can't even trust to shut down opposing teams to win games just on a final possession. Can't trust them. Giants lost the weekend. The Jets just, what is there to say about my beloved New York Jets outside of just end the season? I I just, it's crazy because it's a bunch of people who are just immune to it, like emotionally disengaged. They detach themselves. Throw your hands up. Like, I was talking to somebody, a Jet fan in the media, and actually Alan Hunt I was talking to, and he said the moment Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles in week 1 of that Niners game, or the Buffalo Bills game, I'm sorry. Week 1 was the following year. The moment he tore his Achilles in week 1 of that Bills game, Monday Night Football, like he died inside. Like, I get it, because once you watch this car crash over and over and over again, you do get to a point where you become numb to it. But for some reason, that hasn't happened for me. And I actually don't want that to happen for me. I don't want to be numb to my football team losing. That's a sad place to be. But the reality is, there are a lot of people rooting for 0-17. The problem with 0-17, again, that is indicative of a larger issue. The Jets are not like some talentless team that we thought was in a very dark place, because, man, you look up and down this roster, the entire 53 are in shambles. No, we said the defense pretty good. They got GW on the outside, loaded running back room, Justin Fields, maybe some untapped potential. Mason Taylor, love the tight end. But the fact that none of that has translated into wins leaves you feeling like you've got a coaching issue. You've got a general manager issue. Something has gone wrong. Something has gone terribly wrong. Because even the most pessimistic Jet fan did not have them at 0-7 through the first 7 weeks of the season. And now you got this game against the Bengals coming up. And if Joe Flacco plays the way that he did this past Thursday, you've got no shot. Now, the Jet defense, I'll give them credit. I'll give the Jet defense credits, because back-to-back weeks, they've balled out. That side of the ball has done its part. But if the Joe Flacco, old as he is, shows up next week, 0-7 is turning into 0-8, heading into a bye week, sitting on that. And then the Browns annihilated the Dolphins. Tua just didn't have a pick, interception he didn't feel like throwing yesterday. So the Browns defense running roughshod on Miami yesterday. So you had 3 straight games that you thought, all right, might be able to win. The Panthers lost that one, and even Andy Dalton comes into the game. Still, Jets were drawing that because their offense couldn't get anything going. Justin Fields gets benched at halftime. You got this game against the Bengals, all of a sudden looks tougher because of Joe Flacco's performance. Then you got a bye week. Then you've got the Cleveland Browns, who looked good yesterday. You do get to a point. Now, ultimately, they're going to stumble into one of these wins. Going 0-17 is hard, man. I feel like You gotta try to go 0-17. You don't just go 0-17 because you're that bad. This is a league where there's clearly like a, disparity across the sport when it comes to the best teams and the worst teams. Obviously, like there is a significant disparity. But it's also a league where you just stumble into a win by accident. You stumble into one by accident. The Browns beating the Packers. It just accidentally happens. The Saints beating the Giants, and not that the Giants are some great team, but the Saints, they stink. You just accident. The Dolphins, who stink, beat the Jets, who also stink. So at some point, the Jets will win a game. 0-17, that's hard to do, yo. You go 0-17, you got to be trying to go winless. You don't do that because you're just that bad of a team. Ty D. Butler's where you can find me on X. Y'all hit me up. Also on Instagram. Follow the YouTube page. NBA starting up tomorrow night, baby. It's lit. So let's do it. Hit me up. Appreciate y'all joining the stream. Holla at your boy.